Hi, friends. My name is Hannah, and I just like to share the things that I am thinking about as I am on this, journey of trying to enjoy my life more and find a sustainable income source and just sustainable uh, way of life as a disabled and differently abled person. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about something I've been thinking on lately about being disabled when you don't have children, or being a homemaker when you don't have children and you don't want to have children, and just kind of how that affects identity, or how it can impact identity, how we see ourselves, how other people see us, and in turn, the way we see ourselves because other people are seeing us in this way. So, I definitely have, I guess, been exposed to environments where being a homemaker is something that you only deserve to do if you are also producing offspring, and that's like your role is to create a family, and then that is what is like worth it for the man in the environments I come from, for the man, the husband to like financially care for the wife. Like he only is doing that because he's like, I want children. I have to take care of this person so that I'm able to have children, and so that um, I can have a family and I can be a part of, for a lot of people, it's a part of religion, or it's a part of just trying to be like normal in society. Or maybe they came from an environment where they sincerely enjoy that idea of family and being a part of a family, and like they take great pleasure in it. And so so that's kind of the environment that I come from growing up. um, for why like homemakers can be valid. And you know with the way things are structured in the world, like the limited ways that people have to make money, the ways that so many differently abled people become disabled because we aren't able to make money, because we do get burnt out, because we were never nurtured enough. We never had the right supportive resources in order to uncover our natural skills and inclinations, or to uncover our inclinations so that we can build skills, and build skills not through like fear and pain and shame and forcing, but through a learning process that actually feels like safe and rewarding and interesting. um well, I forgot the top of that sentence. But basically, for disabled people, I forgot what I was going to say exactly, but for disabled people, it is very much a sense of like, within, I guess, non-middle class people, maybe people who are more lower financially, in the lower financial class, poverty, like that's the kind of environment I grew up on. Like people are kind of trained to police each other and to enforce like productivity, and like everybody has to push and force themselves to survive. And um it's a very complex thing, but how I kind of see it for myself is that as I am in a homemaker role, which I've had different thoughts and feelings towards. I am in a homemaker role for like the last maybe like year and a half of my life. And but I kind of see it as an opportunity that if I can really rest and get healthy, you know, um, and healthy as defined by me, by how I feel, um, then that can, somehow enable me to have an income source that is sustainable, and through that I can actually help my boyfriend who pays for almost everything. I can help him in doing so. Like, I will have been an investment that can like uh increase both of our qualities of life. And that is kind of a tricky narrative or proposal to put onto things, because sometimes it's a really good idea, but you just don't have the right resources, and it's so hard to try to figure out what are those missing resources and how to even get access to those resources, what risks are worth taking a risk on in order to try to get access to the resources that could enable us to become not just disabled but differently abled, and could still allow us to make income. And it's a lot of pressures to have. And I've been in relationships in the past where someone felt like he was cheated because I didn't become this magical person that was worth him pouring his resources into. I think that is tricky, but also he wasn't emotionally supportive. It wasn't a safe situation at all. It was a very like survival, very much survival mode. And I put a lot of pressure on myself and unrealistic expectations for an outcome. So I think there is something to be cautious about with that. But in general, I just think about if we really nurtured people, how might these people become like not the scapegoated, like like poor lazy trash or whatever people are calling them. You have to like medicate and try to like legalize and make whole industries profiting off of these people's suffering. But instead, if you just gave like people rest and safety, and like what are those other missing ingredients even that allow people to unlock their a way of being productive that isn't shame based, a way that is just like being productive is like an inherent part of our humanities, of self expression, of, you know, creativity, and trying to enjoy life more. Like, if we're going to be alive, might as well enjoy it. Life isn't worth being alive for if it's suffering. So so I think about how, just how poverty affects how our disability is seen, or how I am seen in my eyes and the eyes of other people based on my ability to make money and not make money. And I have been able to make money at different times of my life, but not in a sustainable way. I delivered Amazon packages for 2 years, which caused me to develop chronic neck pain, and it was extremely painful. The whole, not just the neck pain, but that like emotionally, physically, everything about that was like I was not the right person for the job, but I forced myself. I used like pain and sheer total survival practices, right? I used total shame and fear against myself to force myself to survive and stay in that, and it was the better option out of any other options I had to survive. And that's what happens also when your drive for safety and social relationships is so great. Sometimes having a bad job work environment, it's safer than being dependent on people. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off the topic, but being Disabled as a homemaker for me, that means that um, I acknowledge I am disabled. I can be seen as disabled in many ways, but I don't want to limit myself with that entirely. And I also acknowledge that I'm differently abled. To me, that means I can make money when the right circumstances are present, and I just need to figure out what those circumstances are and help myself really rest and rejuvenate and become stronger, not just like physically stronger through still forcing myself, but through actually totally resting and learning how to not put pressure on myself and learning how to protect myself against pressures that might emerge from the outside world. Because that's the only reason why we internalize pressures against ourselves, is because we feel so pressured by people around us and we feel kind of coerced, or that we don't have an alternative way to see things, so we kind of adopt the things that other people say about us, you know. But anyway, like I don't want children. I never have. Since I was young, I never wanted children. And so it's this strange position for me based on how I grew up, in learning to see myself as legitimate, given that I am really weird, given that I have, I don't know, I have uncertainty for, you know, like looking back in the future. When I'm in the future and I'm looking back at this time, I wish I can't know exactly what are the things that I wish I would have done at this time. And how the cookie will crumble. Like, I can't know that right now. But what I can know is that I can just try and follow what feels right to me in the meantime. Because something else I think about is that I don't want to live. This is another kind of layer of realizing how much I have internalized this sense of pressuring myself in order to survive through life. I don't want to be living feeling like the only way that I can succeed or get to a higher level or have a more sustainable way of life is through like making painful sacrifices and forcing and pushing myself and tolerating great pain. I mean, I'm grateful to myself when I do tolerate pain, but that's not where I want to be stuck at. You know, I tolerate the pain so that I have more information and more, I guess, emotional conviction that I'm not investing my energy in that direction anymore. You know, I kind of have to convince myself sometimes through, but once I experience enough pain, I'm like, okay, nothing is even coming from this. Like, why am I investing my energy in this direction when it's just exhausting? And I really do believe in my heart that there's a way for me, for anyone, to grow into, you know, it's not magical. You can't just buy it. You can't, most likely, you can't just have someone like rescue you and place you into this situation unless you're extremely lucky. Something you have to grow into to some degree, but growing into a way of life that is calm and slow. And I don't want to get into like the sense of comparison for like who deserves a slow life. Like, we can't all have a slow life. Who deserves it? I think that everybody who wants that slow life can have it when they go for it. And if we don't tell ourselves that it's something we have to compete for and there's limited places. So, I do want to go for this slow life, and I don't know entirely what that will entail. You know, I could see myself in the future when my mental, I don't know, my mental space is different. I could see myself um, writing. I could see myself teaching. I could see myself, you know, I'm talking about like 5-10 years in the future. I could see, you know, I could see myself in a cute little house gardening and having some type of creative or relational type source of income, something that, you know, is about advocacy for disability, or something that it has to do with my convictions, you know, my convictions have come from my life experiences. But it's something I have to grow into, and until then, you know, until 5 to 10 years, my job is to advocate for my quality of life now. And for me, that looks like knowing that what's it called? Homemaking is a way to bring legitimacy. Like, not one group of people can own that term, you know, homemaking. Like, homemaking isn't just one thing. Doesn't just belong to the group of people that is mothers. Like, mothers within heteronormative relationship ideals and cultures. Homemaking is, to me, it's something really beautiful that isn't gender specific. It's taken me a long time to get here, what I'm saying, but bless me. To me, homemaking is about bringing a nice quality of life to the everyday. You know, for my boyfriend, if he didn't have me, and he's told me that he's really grateful to have me in his life, and that I saved him, because his quality of life before, it was totally different, you know. It adds seriously so much magic and love and safety when you have somebody helping to create a home, a sense of identity, a sense of belonging, a sense of daily nurturance and assurance and building up of your strength. Like, that's what I try to do for my boyfriend, like building up his strength, food, nutrition, just keeping up with all the chores. And but it's something I have to be cautious with, to not see it as something that I am. And he doesn't put any pressure on me, but I can have those kind of thoughts in my own mind sometimes, of this sense of like I don't want to perform like heteronormative type roles, or a fear of that, a fear of being boxed into that identity, or a fear of people putting expectations on me to have children, a fear of being seen at, well, a fear of not developing my own abilities, you know. I have a fear of not developing my own abilities. I have a fear of not being able to protect myself and my boyfriend one day if I never do develop my ability to earn money. I fear, and my boyfriend doesn't put this on me, but I fear that sense of like sadness for my boyfriend. Like, imagine what he could do if he was with somebody who's earning money. I mean, I do earn money dog sitting, but it's not that much, you know. And yeah, so I think about that. But homemaking is a gender neutral thing essentially. It's just create, like, the magic of creating a home, a sense of identity, a sense of continuance, like into the future, a sense of like assurance that every day you have a partner helping to support your life in exchange for you helping them with their life. It's like um mutual mutually benefiting one another. And something I do really love is teamwork. Like, something, I mean, I've experienced it very rarely myself, but I've seen glimpses of it in other people, and things that I really love teamwork. And I mean, whenever I've been in jobs, that has been the thing that I love the most, when it's a safe environment especially. But this sense of teamwork, like we're helping each other accomplish something that we couldn't do on our own. I really just love teamwork, and I think about that with my boyfriend, that it is that great sense of teamwork, but it's on the terms that make sense to both of us as individuals. But it also makes it hard to find, like, where do I belong in the greater world, and with all these expectations, these heteronormative, especially kind of expectations of how people live their lives. And then you know always the creeping fear of sexism, of feeling like, and I don't struggle with it that much, but I have fear sometimes I might struggle with it more than I think I do. This fear of, like, do I believe that I can't do things, or am I blocked from doing things that make sense to me, or I'm blocked in a certain way because of these limits I placed on myself because of my gender, or my expectations of what I should be able to do, or who I am, or how I should seem or perform or whatever based on my gender. I do worry if I'm like limited in some, I'm limiting my own self in some way that I'm unsure of. But yeah, I just am grateful that homemaking is a role that I can play in this time of my life, and that is giving me a sense of, assurance that I am still living with teamwork, and I am in the spirit of teamwork, participating in teamwork, and helping helping myself to rest, and to discover more about rest, what that even feels like and looks like for me, and how that can change my potential, how that can change my creative process, how that can change my ability to learn, how that can change my, like, the environment that I am able to access, the relationships I'm able to access, and in turn how that can change the way I'm able to earn money in the future. Like, who knows what that will look like. Right now I'm still I really don't like being away from home, but I am still house sitting, less so than I had been the past few months. But I still house sit and take care of dogs. And I'm grateful for some type of income source that I can do in the meantime. And I'm really just trying to focus on, how do I make my daily life feel safe? And homemaking helps me to accomplish these things. And yeah, there are lots of parts that aren't my favorite, like a sense of isolation, but that's also been a kind of a lifelong thing for me. So I don't relate it just to homemaking. But with homemaking, there is this sense that you really have to dig into your creativity when you have this free time, or just dig into yourself, I guess, and really taking risks to enjoy yourself, taking like, it might feel like a risk even though it isn't really, but just being like, no, I deserve to rest, I deserve to feel safe, I deserve to not use shame against myself to be productive and pressured to change things quick. Like, I deserve to do everything through enjoyment and have much no lower expectations, but less, I guess, more realistic, you could say, more realistic expectations, realistic according to who I actually am instead of who I think I should be, who I think I would have to be in order to protect myself from the shame of other people. And yeah, that when other people, or when I don't shame myself and I don't internalize other people's shame, then other people's shame is immune, or I'm immune to other people's shame. So that's something that I have been practicing a lot over the past, I don't even know how long, maybe a year and a half or something, and I'm still continuing to practice it. Anyway, yeah. If this is interesting to you, this topic, or you can relate to it in some way, I would love to hear your thoughts. And okay, yeah. Take care. Bye.